Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. I do want to wrap. There is one final game, and it did not feature a top 25 matchup. As a matter of fact, it did not feature a single ranked team. It was the Clemson-Miami game. And we talked a little bit about this on Friday's show. Certainly talked about it on the college football betting pod last week. Miami wins in overtime, 28-20. First of all, congrats to Miami. 2-game losing streak. I didn't think they had played that bad. Miami's biggest problem was they turned the ball over 9 times in the last 2 games. And I said, look, if you just take care of the football, you're a better team than that record says you are. Well, guess what? 1 turnover in that game, they end up winning. But the story is obviously Clemson. Clemson loses this game to fall to 4-3 overall through 7 games and 2-3 in the ACC. And so it's interesting because as I thought about today's show, I kind of wondered, I was like, is there really another conversation to be had about Clemson? We talked about it 2 seasons ago with DJ. We talked about it last year when they did not make the college football playoff. We talked about it when they lost to Duke earlier this season. This is a program that has been regressing. This is a program that has been going in the wrong direction. It is for all the reasons that we've already talked about. Dabo Swinney is stubborn in the transfer portal. Dabo Swinney doesn't have a transformational quarterback like Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. He's lost some good assistants like Brent Venables. And so I didn't know if I should really talk about it. But I saw some stuff that I think is worth noting as far as why this really, this to me, let me, why we're talking about this. This feels like the moment in time that it is absolutely indisputable that Clemson is no longer an elite program. 2 national championships in all of our memories. They deserve, have the parades, have the celebrations, have the anniversaries. But that program is gone. And I don't know if it's ever going to come back. Okay. First of all, the stats are jarring, okay? And I'm sure many of you saw these on social media. But Clemson, going back to last year, how about this? These stats are insane. Do you know that Clemson in their last 13 games overall, Clemson is 7-6 in their last 13 games. 7-6 overall in their last 13 games. Lost 2 games in November last year, plus the bowl game to Tennessee. Now, obviously, 4-3 this season. Beyond that, they're 3-5 in their last 8 Power 5 games. That is insane, and it speaks to something we've talked about on this show, and I know we talked about after they lost to Duke. This is not the same program with the same juice that they had even 3-4 years ago, okay? Bottom line is you watch that Duke game, it stood out, and it stood out against Miami, and it stood out against Wake Forest, and pretty much everybody they played. They don't got the dudes anymore. I mean, the most important moment of Clemson season probably goes back to week 1, Labor Day weekend, when they're playing Duke at Duke. And Tom Luganbill, who has a background in scouting, his dad was a college coach, he said, guys, I'm standing on the field. Athletically, there is no difference between Clemson and Duke. 0 difference in size, speed, athleticism. Now, maybe some of the credit should go to Mike Elko, the Duke coach, on that, but it doesn't change the fact that that is a jarring statement to make about Clemson. And so you look at this team, they're not special at quarterback. I keep being told that Cade Klubnik is going to get there. It hasn't happened yet. It doesn't help that the offensive line is not good. He doesn't have wide receivers that can separate. The defense is still good, but it's not elite. And so I don't know what this team does well. And I think the shocking thing is it used to always be like, maybe they're this, maybe, but at least, they run the ACC, and then it's just a question of, can they beat Alabama? Can they beat Georgia? Can they beat Ohio State? Whatever. They are probably right now in 2023, right now, and it ebbs and flows. What are they in the ACC right now? What are they, about the 6th best team in that league? That sounds like hyperbole, but think about it. They lost to Florida State, not better than Florida State. Lost to Duke, they're not better than Duke. Lost to Miami, they're not better than Miami. I don't think they're better than North Carolina right now. I don't think that they're better than Louisville right now. So that's 5 teams right there. Could have lost to Wake Forest at home. Wake Forest is 4-3. And so what it says to me is that this program is at a crossroads. And I think up until this moment in time, you could always blame it on something else, right? The last 2 years, we know who took the blame. It was DJ Uiagalelei. He's not the guy. He's not Trevor. He's not Deshaun. Well, he left this year. He's doing pretty well at Oregon State. Oregon State's in the top 20. Then you lose to Duke, and it's turnovers, and it's opening night, and it's fine, and you're going to bounce back. Then you play Florida State, and you're probably the better team for about three quarters and change. You have that scoop and score that goes the other way for a touchdown, and all of a sudden, you lose that Florida State game. But Florida State might win a national championship this year. So you lose to Florida State. Duke's about turnovers. There's no excuse for Miami. I think Miami's probably a little bit better than people think. But at the same time, there's no excuse. There is no DJ to blame. There is no turnovers to blame. There is no maybe a program has just elevated itself to blame. You are just, to use the term that kids use, you're just mid right now. You're mid. Like, you're just average. You're nothing. You're nothing special. And so can they get it back? I don't know. Like, we've talked about it on this show so many times. You don't need me to tell you. You don't need me to do the rant on the transfer portal again. We know Dabo has refused to use the transfer portal. We know that literally everybody in college football thinks it's wrong. That's the crazy thing, right? Like, you pick any topic in sports, you can find somebody to defend it. Like, James Harden's fat, excuse my language, but he's fat and out of shape, and he's demanding a trade for the 3rd time in 3 years, and there's somebody in the media that will defend it. John Morant's bringing guns everywhere, and there's somebody that's going to defend it. I haven't heard anybody defend Dabo Swinney in the transfer portal. And by the way, I'm not comparing potentially carrying illegal guns to Dabo not using the transfer portal, but you get the point. There's always somebody that's willing to defend it. I haven't heard anybody say, Dabo's probably got it right by not using this incredible resource to add talent to his roster, all while using it. Because that's the thing, right? Like, it'd be one thing if LSU, USC, Colorado were adding without losing anything. But they're adding while also losing. They're kind of trying to force out the bottom third of their roster and improve it on the top third. Clemson's losing the bottom third. They're not replacing them with anybody. They're replacing them with freshmen, but it takes 2 or 3 years. And then a lot of those freshmen aren't making it, and they're transferring too. So I could go on and on. We know Dabo's stance on the portal is not working. He tried to shake up the coaching staff this offseason with Garrett Riley, Lincoln Riley's brother. Bad day to be a Riley brother, by the way, right? Bad day to be a Riley brother. So I don't know what else to say. I could go on and on about Clemson, but at a certain point, Dabo's got to look himself in the mirror and say, do I want to be elite again or not? Because they're good. They're fine. They're at best the 3rd or 4th best team in the ACC. And we know the standard at Clemson is not that. And I don't know if it's ever going to come back. Last thought, by the way, all those things that everybody said about Alabama, dynasty's dead, never coming back. That's actually Clemson. Like, that's the thing that stands out. That is actually Clemson, not Alabama.